Yo, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to today's Forbes Web3 space, the growth and venture arm of Forbes that is building to empower the entrepreneurs and leaders here in Web3. My name is Ice, and I will be your host for today's show. Now, whether you guys are joining us from a well-relaxed weekend, or maybe you guys are joining us from your most hectic week ever, due to Token 2049. First of all, we appreciate you for being here with us nonetheless. And second of all, there is a therapy group chat for all of us who couldn't go. It is certified anti-FOMO. And I promise we are not salty. We all just muted 2049 and Singapore's on our timelines for a week because mental health matters. And you know what? So does your branding. And for those of us that have had the opportunity to attend such an amazing event, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Whether you guys were there to speak or listen, or whether you guys were there to learn or teach, it was all about becoming better, right? It was all about establishing new, meaningful moments of connection and finding ways to empower your brand. And that is exactly what we're here to talk about today. But before we get into any of the juicy bits of today's conversation, I must check in first with our fearless leader, the one and only VP of Forbes Web3. What's going on, Manny? How you doing today? Oh no, that's not good. It is quite hard to hear you right now, Manny. I hear you in the very, very distant, but I also feel like we're like three different like rooms in between. Are you able to rewire your mic real fast as we get that checked out?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Take your time. In the meantime, let me actually check in with some of our amazing panelists that we have had to invite here on stage today. Let me first check in with Kima. Who do we got behind the Kima House account today?
So, hey guys, joined from my personal account in addition. Tomer, behind the Kima account, is one of Kima team members. Happy to be here today. Tomer, CMO and CBDO of Kima Network. Interoperability, communication layer that unifies everything that is centralized and decentralized. The only blockchain communication layer that has also an SDK and an API and enables seamless and decentralized interoperability between financial ecosystems of any sort. Happy to be here today. Looking forward to kicking it off. Myself also writing for Forbes. Happy to be part of Forbes Web3. Doing the same also for Cointelegraph, writing about DeFi and blockchain infrastructure, an angel investor, and happens to be also investment director of ChainGPT Labs. Looking forward to having fun with you today, guys. Thanks for having me.
That is incredible, Tomer. Truly a massive list of hats you are currently working on right now. So I'm sure like being involved with so many different organizations, you of all people must recognize and understand like just the importance of branding. So I got so many things that I do want to come back to you, Tomer, but we'll come back in just a few moments as I take a moment to check in with our friend over from Mindblown. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, Ice. Hey, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. This is Nigel speaking. So I'll be representing Mindblown. So basically, I'm from the CEO of Mycelium Network, and Mindblown is one of the IP franchise that we manage. And I think like it's been a long day. It's 12 in the midnight today in Indonesia, and yeah, I'm very stoked for this space. Thank you very much.
That's amazing, man. So glad to be able to reconnect with you, Nigel. I believe we had a space almost a year and a half ago, or maybe even longer, but time truly does fly in Web3. And all of this information is pertinent to branding because the way we do things in Web3 are a little bit different than the way that we're used to in Web2. But thank you for joining us today once again, Nigel. And let me go ahead and say hello to our friends over from Nifty Island. What's going on, guys?
Hey, it's pleasure having you. My name is Boaz or Rios. I'm a growth manager at Nifty Island, which is basically a community-driven gaming platform. You can play games and rewards and just have a good time. So yeah, pleasure being here, honestly.
Amazing, man. Thank you. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing over at Nifty Island. So many questions I want to ask, but maybe we got to carve out a time for a separate call just for that, Rios. But thank you so much for joining us today. And last but definitely not least, we got, I was going to say Emily, but I must check in with them now to make sure. Is it pronounced Emily or Emile? Either way, we got the representative from the Ctrl Wallet joining us today. How are you guys doing?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm the CEO and founder of XDeFi Wallet. It's definitely Emile. I got that one like a lot over the years, but that's an Emile, yeah. Control Wallet. Look, we're the wallet that supports the most chains out there. Ultimately, our mission is to make it easy for people to onboard into self-custody and do anything they want to do on chain. We've created a user experience that allows people to do so without having to use different wallets, because we support all chains out there, without having to understand what is a seed phrase, because they can connect with their social logins and create a wallet as such. And we fully abstract gas across all the chain we support. So really, like, it's as easy as opening an account on Uber or Prime, really. So that's our mission. And we currently launching the new products that we've been building for the past 18 months. I'm looking forward to share more about that with you guys.
That is incredible, man. Thank you for joining us, Emile. And I do want to check back in with Manny real quick, but if I'm understanding the situation correctly, we might have some Wi-Fi in combination with audio scuff that we're dealing with right now. So I see the double sad face emojis, Manny. So don't worry, we will take care of things on stage for you on the team's behalf. So don't you worry about that. In the meantime, we have deployed the producers and the tech boys over to Manny. So Manny, you will be getting those in just a moment. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I am beyond ecstatic to kick off today's conversation. And I'd like to start things off today by asking our panelists, in your opinion, what are some of the key elements that make up a successful Web3 brand? So please take a moment, think about what you want to say. And at this point, I'd also like to just take a quick second here to go over some housekeeping rules that all of you guys are no doubt familiar with, as exemplified by Tomer just now. But if you guys have have something to say, something that you want input to the conversation, simply raise your hands like so. But if you guys have something to say in response to what someone just said before, you also pair it up with one of these waving emojis. So if I see that, I will do my best to get that in queue and get the mic over to you guys as soon as possible. And for everybody else listening in on the conversation, I'd like to ask you guys one small favor. Normally, I would say go to the bottom right corner, do all the shebangs and the like and the retweet. But as you guys can see, we got not a message bubble, but a plus sign. So please go to the top of the Jumbotron, click that link, which has the space reminder. So go ahead and retweet that post instead. In the meantime, let us head back onto the set and hear what the panelists have to say on what they think are some key elements of a Web3 brand. So Tomer, you got your hand up. Please take it away, my friend.
Thank you. So I'll start by stating the obvious, that probably the main difference between a Web2 and a Web3 company is the fact that a Web3 company is almost being born as a publicly traded company at birth. Unlike Web2, for those of you in the audience, who are old enough like me, old dogs, I've been through the Web1s, Web2s, Web3s, and some IPOs and exits and sales and crashes and losses. The markets, and to build a company that will basically get to a publicly traded stage usually takes years. And it takes a long time before entrepreneurs are meeting, their exits. They need to go through certain KPIs and pre-seed, seed, and then Series A, B, C, and it's a long road. And in Web3, you basically go out with a pitch deck, with a team, build a website, and here you are, starting to raise funds to your IDO, to your IEO, to your ICO, to your token generation event, to your TGE. And you're being born as a publicly traded company by potential at your first day. I'd say that this is probably the main difference that attracts so many entrepreneurs and innovators into this space. Let's not fool ourselves. It's the ability to tap into liquidity and to get funding to build your dream and project. And of course, greed that unfortunately also corrupts and ruins this industry many times. But we are smart enough, to avoid these and to know to differentiate the good from the bad. At least I hope that we can. Second thing is basically the core foundations of the projects that you build. So Web3 magic is basically decentralization of information. With that magic of blockchain and decentralization, we're bringing one amazing thing to this world, and it's digital asset ownership. Then unlike in Web 2, in Web 3, the community of the project is, unlike in Web 2, is an actively part of the family, owning part of the project. It can be tokens, it can be validator nodes, it can be NFTs or game characters or keys to a certain part of the solution, of the DApp that we've created. So Web3 is born as a community-driven company, project, agenda, initiative, unlike in Web2 that is hyper-centralized and is very not transparent, closed, and the users are not looked as community members and part of the project, but as mere wallets to buy something at the end of the tunnel. I think that these are basically making the main difference. Then to summarize, I'd say that tapping into a lot of liquidity worldwide by being born as a publicly traded company. Second, decentralization of information, which makes everything transparent and immutable. And then the ability to own our digital assets. It can be tokens, and it can be NFTs, it can be cryptocurrencies, it can be whatever. Digital asset ownership. Welcoming Web3. It's about time to make this change, and happy that we're moving towards away from Web2. Let's do it.
That was incredible, Tomer. I feel like you just gave us you just gave me an experience of Web3 like via a kaleidoscope lens there, like all encompassing from beginning to end. So many things that you touched upon, so many things I want to get into, but two things. Wow, like it really I felt that, man. You know, a company that is publicly traded at birth before any product is even available. That brought a smile to my face. And if you've been here for like more than 3 years, guys, I'm sure that you guys are probably smiling as well, because it really is different. And the juxtaposition between that and what we're used to IRL, it's actually quite the opposite, because we're used to setting things up, building so much paperwork, having the product, or having a bunch of battle tested ideas for products, coming up with a business proposition, and then maybe, just maybe, we can get a grant from a family member, from a city, or from the government. And if all those boxes check out, then we can pave the way to actually start the business, right? And actually, one thing before I toss the mic over to Emil and to Nigel here, I wanted to follow up on something, Tomer, which I absolutely love. And you coined this as Web3 magic. So I wanted to dive just a little bit deeper into this, Tomer, because for a man with your experience, do you find it easy or difficult to have this kind of Web3 magic conversation with a non-Web3 native? Like, how does that even look like for you?
Oh, wow. I'd say that this is a great question. So many people will not even, in our industry, will not even understand that it's very hard to what we used to call, non-coiners, to understand how blockchain works, and what this Web3 thing is. I'm still, I'm sitting with, OGs, from the Web 2 era, like people, created companies with huge exits and social in the Web 2 and the social media revolution that we had back there. And they're asking me, bro, why should I pay someone to send a file on the internet? I don't get it. Why people pay? And then I need to understand, to explain how decentralization works and what it actually does and why no one, if someone steals how and when and keys, and they're like, dude, this is too complicated, why would people use it? And then I'm telling them that they're most likely right, that it's too complicated, because the industry, instead of working together to bring this magic, Web3 magic, to everyone, many projects in the industry are just focused about creating quick cash grabs, which is also a problem, a disease of these publicly traded companies. But seems like now, after having enough bulls and bears, we're reaching to a point that the industry is there. And luckily for all of the newcomers, we reached to a point that the industry actually works together. Interoperability is around. Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum ETFs. We're no longer thieves who are buying heroin and cocaine with Bitcoin, and we're not paying for weapons, and we're not paying, for whatever they blame us of doing finally there's ETFs in the New York Stock Exchange and in the Big Apple, and we're no longer hiding, then yes, this Web3 magic is coming to Web2, and they're starting to understand, but still it's hard for most to comprehend how this thing operates. Still a challenge, but better than previous years.
For sure, Tomer. That is, it's a definite deep dive into that rabbit hole for this one. But despite all the things that we've been accused for, that may or may not be wrong, we do have to take the onus on the pizza one. The Bitcoin for pizza thing. We got to own up to it. It was a mistake. It was made, but it is okay because we live and learn, baby. Emil, we're going to go over to you, man. You got your hand up. What you got for us, brother?
Yeah, for sure. So, look, if you want to build a good brand in Web3, you need 5 components. The first one is mimetic. Today, this is how, socials work. And if you want virality, you need to have like a really good mimetic output. That's very important to focus on it. And this is why the social manager that you're going to hire for your main account is probably one of the most important hire at this stage. The second one is that you need authenticity. You need to be able to lead the vision and the marketing as a founder as well by being authentic, by being able to gain trust, being transparent, and build in public. The third one is cult. If you look at all the biggest projects and the biggest brand in Web3, whether it's like Binance, back then FTX, Luna back then, even if it didn't end well, and plenty of others, they have one thing in common, Coinbase and so on, they have a really strong leader, and that's worth like for Vitalik, Tolly, etc. You need one strong leader that leads in public and that people can refer to and look up to. Cult is very important if you want to create a strong brand, and obviously even more important if you want to create a strong community. The fourth thing, you need to solve an actual problem, and you need to be able to communicate this via your vision and mission as a founder and via your main account, and make it really simple for people to explain to the next person that onboards within your community what's the problem you're solving, how you're solving it, and why you're solving it. And the last one is money. Sidzi used to say, the only thing I think about when I wake up is how I'm going to make my users money. I think it's really important, and I think we need to be absolutely we need to be really realistic. People join crypto today because they want to make money. That's 99% of the people that join into crypto. I joined crypto in 2015. I didn't join in for money. And I think one of the biggest mistakes I've made, like in the past 5 years as a founder, is believing that people will join because they only have ideals in mind. When they join because they want to buy a coin, hold it, make a profit. And you need to understand that as a brand, and you need to be able to communicate accordingly around this. And these 5, if you meet them, you're going to have a really strong brand. That took me a lot of time to understand that, personally.
Wow, Emil, that was probably one of the most value-packed takes I've ever heard in like a span of like 2 minutes. That was incredible. I do want to pass the mic over to Nigel, but before that, let me ask you this, man. Like when it comes to growing a brand, because like we talked about so many things just now. You talked about virality, authenticity. I think the third one was cult, and then of course solving the problem, and then there's money. But when it comes to growing a brand, you mentioned something that I absolutely love, which is the most important hires being a good social media manager. So in your opinion, how important do you think it is, like of the social media managers that you guys hire? How important is their pre-established exposure depth? Like, would you go for someone that is definitely super well known versus someone that is doing good work but not as well known? Like, what are your opinions on that?
So I think this is probably one of the most important hire outside of your dev team. The main reason is that today social media are everything. And this is, what's going to help you like to essentially acquire users and sell your products, not just for Web3, for pretty much like any industry, that has a end user angle. So I would say that like you need to find someone. It doesn't matter if the person is known. It matters if the person is like in the current meta. Does that person understand what's going on? Is that person cool? Is that person able to like understand like the trend of the day and leverage it and reuse these trends and make it associated to something that you're building yourself or something that like you're fighting for as a brand, and and capitalize on that trend. Is that person able to reply guy, be funny? Is that person, able to, is that person empathetic? I mean, like that, this is excessively complicated to find. And I don't think there are a lot of people that are able to do it and to do it well. And I think that like you need to find people that are funny and that are sensitive and that are able like to get to the users, to get to the community and to make them feel part of the family. But for that, you need to be authentic and you need to be funny. Being funny is excessively important today because there's so much noise out there, so many brands that ultimately, if you don't have someone that is actually creating some content that is different, that is unique, well, and our social media manager is listening to this, big shout out to her. Like, I never tell her, no, don't post something. I don't care what you post. Like, just go for it. Just go for it. And if it's, shocking some people, that's fine. Obviously there are some limits, but I want this to be your own tone and voice. That needs to be different. And you need to have your own signature. And that's how like, people will remember our name, remember our brand. And that's how we'll build a strong relationship with our community.
Well said, Emil. I think when a lot of brands in the space and they're trying to get that, they're trying to make that splash, right? And I get it. When we're trying to build up a brand, and like the easy way out really is to just like get our product, get our team in front of as many eyes as possible. But I absolutely agree with your take on this, Emil, because sometimes having 10,000 eyes on you, like maybe for memes, it's arguably not as important than having 1,000 eyes on you. But this person lives and breathes the product, right? This person lives and breathes the branding, and they have a thorough understanding of the culture and the people here. So absolutely agree with your take there, Emil. And Nigel, you had your hand up earlier. I don't know if it's Twitter rugging me, but it shows that your hand is no longer up, but I'm going to toss the mic over to you on this one anyway. What you got for us, brother?
Hey man, thanks. I think it's a good general overview given from Tomer, sorry. But I think there are three fundamentals that I see like become like the native in Web3. The first one is basically like the content, right? So because like it or not, the currency right now is like the attention. It's all about the attention game. Attention is like the currency, and how we deliver that is basically from the content, right? And especially when our expertise in Mycelium and also like in Mindblown is basically to create a relevant content to the people that is attractive and also like shareable, right? And then the second one is basically the community. So the community rather than only as a consumer but also as a creator. So we already seeing this as the shift in the evolution of marketing, right? So from the broadcast towards the community marketing, and the community leads the innovation. So I think like the basic rule is how we able to giving back the power to the people, to the consumer, and also to your supporter. And for those supporter, they will get an incentive. I call it as an retroactive reward. Like, and also like the same like the co-op company, right? The community becomes the consumer, but also become the active participant and also like the owner of the company. So this is like the new paradigm that we have in the in the today's era. And then the third one is basically like the communication. When we're talking about the communication, it's all about the social engineering. How we able to create the FOMO. I think like it's a common term that you use in Web3. So the social engineering is also like I think like the biggest part to unleash the curiosity of the people. And I think I also beg to differ regarding like the strong leader. I think like when we're talking about the cult, like Emil said, I kind of agree for some extent. But strong leadership also comes with a risk, right? It's kind of like susceptible and higher risk if there's a problem with the person, especially when we're talking about the decentralization. So for me, there shouldn't be like one person to be like the prophet or maybe like the messiah of any kind of project. So it should be like also the power should be decentralized, right? And creating a mimetic universe around your brand or around your IP is also a thing, because I think like what we're seeing today, especially like in NFT projects, is not only the content or maybe like the creation coming from the core team, but rather than the community that will shill. The community become the evangelist. The community becomes the marketing. I think that's one of the the important part. And talking about Web3, it's only like the back-end technology, right? People don't need to know that it is Web3. And the front end is basically like the IP or your brand. Because this is what I always said, right? When you're a musician, you're not saying that you're going to create an MP3 project, right? But rather you're creating a music or maybe like an album. So let alone the technology, let alone like, the Web3 lingo, the Web3 technical stuff, because people don't give a shit about it, right? The thing that they need to know is basically how we able to solve their problems and how we can communicate in a very human way in terms of rather than ERC 721 or maybe like ERC 6551, etc. So it's very technical, and I think that's my take.
Like, love that, Nigel. Thank you so much, man. And I think the running joke that some of you guys may have heard is, yeah, when I explain anything to my Asian parents, it's always about, you know what, Ice? I don't really care about how this works. I just need this to work. Okay. So please spare me the TLDR. Just make sure whatever I'm using is actually working. And I think that really does tie in with a lot of the fundamentals that you were just speaking about earlier, Nigel, right? And I think one of the things that you did say that I absolutely loved, and I want to take this chance to actually segue onto our second topic here, is that you mentioned shareable content and of course having our community there to kind of fact check this, right? How do they feel about the content? Is this something that they like seeing? Are there things or are there ways that we can do better? Involving content with our community is absolutely one of the most important things that we have at our disposal in Web3. But before we get into that topic, let me actually take one super quick second here to chime in with my good friend from Nifty Island. We got Charles here on stage. What's good, boy? How are you doing today, man?
Hey, doing well, man. Doing well. Good to be here. Sorry I'm a little late, but yeah, I'm here and I'm now over my jet lag from Singapore, so I'm feeling good.
Oh man, dude, how was that trip? I heard extremes from both ends. I heard people that absolutely loved it, and I heard people that were just basically saying that they never want to travel again in their life. So yeah, how was it for you, man?
I honestly, I overall enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, no, it was cool. It was trying to think. I mean, we were just touching base with a bunch of like our partners that build on top of Nifty and to send players our way, which was great. And then we've been also just making preparations for our TG of Island token. So there's a lot of stuff there in the works. And yeah, and then I think yeah, it was good, dude. It was honestly, it was great. It was yeah, it was really nice to see everybody.
Love to hear it, man. Whenever anyone says that they had a good time in Singapore, I just smile and nod, and I put on that face mask. The one that's like smiling, but then you remove the mask and it's like a Pepe crying. That's basically half of us. But that's okay. That is okay. But you know what, Charles? I think you brought up a very good point here. Like being able to travel, having the opportunity to do these things, it really gives us a different perspective. And actually, I do want to hear everyone's thoughts on what Nigel said earlier regarding the whole community engagement bit. And because as we say in Web3, community is everything. And for team members, this is something that they had to be constantly cognizant of, like at all times, because for community members, Web3 offers the opportunity to become closer to the brand, closer to the product and its staff, right? Whereas in Web2, comparatively speaking, these opportunities are few and far between. So these small interactions that may feel like mundane day-to-day tasks for us, it could very well be exciting, impactful, and even starstruck moments for some of our community members. So again, I'd like to hear the panelists kind of your thoughts on how does community engagement affect the shaping of a Web3 brand. And I know we'll go to the hands in that order. But while we are here, I kind of want to hear from Rios because I did realize we totally skipped over you, Rios. So let me toss the mic over to you, my friend. How do you feel community engagement affects the shaping of a Web3 brand? Rios from the Nifty Island house account. Are you still there?
Oh, from the Nifty Island guy? Well, I'll take over for him. It's good.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Go for it, man.
I mean, so for us, I mean, we're the most active user-generated content kind of game world in the space, and it's fundamentally a world built by players and communities that inhabit it. So for us, like our community is very much like a partner in kind of building the game, very actively in a very real sense. And there's tons of them in the audience right here I can see, which is great. Yeah, so I think for us, like, it's just completely built into what we do on a day-to-day basis. Like, it is just inherently part of the product. So I think sometimes like there are Web3 projects where the product doesn't really need a lot of community input, and the community input is a little bit more tangential to it. For us, like what we're excited about with Web3 is the fact that you can turn players into stakeholders, and that you can generate, a lot of, you can generate like a kind of more novel, like active community by leveraging stuff on chain. So yeah, for us, it's just inherent to what we do.
That's really interesting, Charles. I love that perspective, man. Sorry, Tomer, you have your hand up at the moment I said that comment earlier. So let's go right over to you, my guy. Tomer, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. So, I believe that community is everything in this industry. Without community, like, don't even start a project. Community is not only your customers' database, unlike Web2 or your loyal customers or loyal users. They are integral part of your project, holding your crypto token, the blood of the project, right? The gas that moves your app, your creation. You're holding the NFTs, which can be characters, that can be land, that can be validator nodes, that can be anything in the ecosystem. And the community is basically the backbone of your project. A little bit of FOMO. They all run to pump your token and buy it and create a beautiful and nice green candle. A little bit of FUD, and they're all running to sell, of course. A little bit of FUD, if you do not know how to mitigate and to explain and you're not transparent, will create destruction and a huge, horrible red candle. Then again, going to square one, we're born as a publicly traded companies. We need to act as one. We need to communicate with our investors. We need to communicate with our users. We need to communicate with our validator operators. We need to communicate with our NFT holders. We need to communicate with our community all the time. They're part of the project, not only a wallet to pay bills, and not only a wallet to make people rich overnight. They're part of the project by any means. So invest in your community more than at least as you invest in your tech. Equally important, and sometimes even more. I'm trying to explain to some of my portfolio companies, it happens to be that I've been collecting a few throughout the years, that even if you create like an amazing infrastructure project, right? Like the, technology of the future, I have one of these projects that is basically, futuristic technology, but has zero investment in community. Like one of the most serious projects in this industry. Could have been, like as big as Solana, as big as Near, as big as the top 10, but zero investment in community, zero investment in proper marketing communications. And they're being traded basically like a meme coin valuation at the moment. So even though they're one of the most amazing, technologies out there and one of the best infra solutions out there in the industry, due to the fact that their token looks like a train wreck, no one gets near it. No project will come building on it. No developer would be attracted to it, right? Because who wants to be in a part of an ecosystem that looks like it's dying, that the token grants might be worthless and they will not have liquidity to survive? Which liquidity provider will arrive to provide liquidity in an ecosystem that is basically dying, and token loses value day by day, and no one wants to be part of it? So your community is what drives the overall worth of your company. Your audience, the general public, the community is the backbone of your project, ladies and gentlemen, and it's what making it all tick. Then invest in it. Nothing more important than it.
Excellently said, Tomer. It's really true. Community is absolutely the backbone of our project. And I think the daunting truth that we must accept is that attention spans are massively shortened here at Web3, right? I don't think anyone here would refute that. And it's just like you said, Tomer. People judge an entire project by a number denoted by their token price. And yeah, that's due to the attention span bit. And unfortunately for a lot of us, the DYOR ends at that glance. And there might be so much more to unpack. There might be so many problems that a team is actively trying to solve in the real world with their project, but if the token number don't look good, automatically it loses people right away. In other words,
I agree. And many people forget that we're in an industry. That the token, which is a meme coin, like, let's say, I don't know, like Bank or Dog with. These are basically meme coins. That you look at them, you're saying like this thing is worth like $1 billion, like $500 million. It does nothing. It has no dApp. It has nothing. But it's the power of community, to show like the middle finger to the world and to tell the world, I'm a holder, diamond hand, I'm not selling, and it drives growth and drives the valuation of this whole thing until people can actually go, to Starbucks and actually pay with this magic internet money thingy, driven by the community. By the way, I'm not sure if you know, but there's a stable coin called Magic Internet Money, meme, MIM. So it is community driven. Everything is about community, and it doesn't even matter what you build. Sometimes it's just who does it and how well it can communicate it to he or she can communicate to the community and work with the community towards a common goal. And this is what's the most amazing about Web3, in order we can take stuff like Pepe and Bunk, and Whiff and Doge and these things, and actually make them like worth, like companies of billions. It's crazy, right? And you can actually go and pay and buy stuff with that by launching stuff with liquidity pool of a few friends having fun with $2,000 and a smart contract that was launched on ETH or Solana or whatnot. This is awesome in my eyes, and yeah, this is the power of community in this industry. This is what makes it awesome.
Yeah, I think when the power of community is leveraged at the 1000x that you just described, Tomer, it's absolutely true. We can have meme coins that have basically no utility and still worth so much. It's like, when can I pay with cat with hat? We don't know, but it's actually pretty surprising that we're able to do that. But I think all of this ties back to having a powerful brand and with people that can kind of back it. And what this leads into is having an extreme level of brand loyalty. And with brand loyalty being at the utmost of importance in Web3, that kind of opens up a different can of worms, right? Because when we think about brand loyalty here in Web3, the very surface level of it is like, okay, what's your value proposition? What is the utility that you're adding to my wallet or to my life? And when it's going good, it's going well. But with the moment that value is taken off the table, people start to leave. So I think the next question that I kind of want to propose to the panel is that how can we ensure that the people are here to stay, right? What can we do to make sure that what are some of these effective strategies that we can employ in order to foster long-term loyalty with our community members, instead of just having these guys literally see the next shiny object and immediately go running away? And Emil, you got your hand up. We're going to go over to you, my brother.
Just quick question for you. Do you mean like as a project, or in general as an ecosystem?
I would actually love to hear both. So let's talk about the project first, and then if you want to dive down deeper into the specifics, go for it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, as a project, it's pretty simple. You just need to have the token keep going up. I think that's the main thing, right? And you'll probably pay like if you, and Tomer kind of said that, like not exactly that, but like if your token go up, like you have a good community and you have people around you, and like if they've made money and they were here like on the way up, it's quite likely that like on the way down they will still support you somehow and try to and try to be supportive and because they're expecting that like it will go back up in the future, so they're all going towards like the same goal and they're fighting together for that same goals materializing. But ultimately, if it continues going down, you're going to lose everyone in your community, and that's reality, right? If you manage to become like a top 100, and then you have a lot of funds and you can maintain yourself in the top 100s, I guess that like at this stage your community has been built and there will always be a future expectation of the token coming back up during the next cycle. So reflexivity, etc. Like, and that stays there. But otherwise, for any type of other projects, really, like it's about like making sure that the token continue going up. Again, that's another like really expensive lesson that we learned with our from our project, and I think that's quite important. As a space in general, I think it's a little bit different. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I mean, people like to have fun. People like to interact with other community members that probably share similar like center of interest than them. And I feel that like this has kind of been achieved like in a lot of like NFT communities back then. I still see like some communities with I mean, the NFTs have pretty much died, right? And are kind of still sticking together because in the Discord channel they were in, like they just became friends, and they were together like on the way up, they were together like on the way down. They kind of stuck together. It's a very different asset, obviously, on a token, which is like obviously like much more illiquid than a token, and it seems that like people still like stick together. But I mean, in general, I think it's quite hard to answer. Like as an ecosystem, how we keep like it's ultimately it's a function of everything going up. When we're in a bull cycle, like everyone is excited. There are so many crypto people around us. Like, and I've been here like four cycles now. Yeah, there's not as much people around like when we're in the middle of the bear market. And that's reality of our industry, and that's perfectly fine. We just need to accept it. Yeah.
I got you, man. And I do apologize. Maybe I can like break down the question a little bit better, so it's a more coherent, easier to understand. And actually, I'm gonna reference what Nigel said earlier, because Nigel earlier, he introduced the idea of content creation as per community awareness into the topic. So let me rephrase that for you, Emil. So as it pertains to Ctrl Wallet, right? Like how can we properly structure content in order to reinforce community cohesiveness, in your opinion?
Yeah, listening to user feedback, having a direct line of communication with your users / testers, and this is exactly what we put in place, like in Discord and on the intercom. So we're giving like preview to our most hardcore community members, and they basically send us some feedback on how they would like to see things, what's not working for them. We're going through like a user survey, user interview, and we build for them. So listening to your community, trying to make sure that like the champions of your community have a direct line of communication with the people that are building the product, and try to build for them. So that's what we do. And then they all become evangelists, and then they all go out there, speak to their best friend about it. Then they all go out there on Reddit, on Discord, on other socials or Telegram, and they talk about it, and they become like an extension of the core team, and they're able to pitch it as well as you. They do feel involved in the process of building the product, because they actually were involved, and they kind of own the vision and the product features and the associated benefits, and they become basically like your biggest asset.
I love that, Emil. Pay attention to community feedbacks. They really are, not only are they the people that are backing the backbone of our community, these are also the people that are constantly there to help us become better. Because whether we like to admit it or not, the space, it is very much so a PvP industry, such that we are constantly trying to compete with each other. And in order to be the people leading the charge, we need outside perspectives. We need ways that in order to become better. Tying things back to the introduction of today's show, why did all these amazing content creators go to Singapore for Token 2049? It's not just to grow an exposure, or it's not just to get some followers. No, it's to grow your brand, but more importantly, it's to learn and to become better. And as we wind down to the final 10 minutes of today's show, I'd like to take the opportunity to kind of do a quick speed round with all of our esteemed panelists here. And I want to go through the final question being, what are some ways that Web3 brands can make themselves distinct amongst all of the competitors in the space? Because I get it, guys. A lot of people, even though the angles might be different, we are out here and we're trying to build the same thing, if not very similar things. So when we go out there with our marketing, with our branding, with our pitch decks, no doubt we will run into people that have very similar products and very similar pitch angles. So again, I'd like to just ask the panelists as the final question, what are some of the ways that Web3 brands can make themselves distinct amongst all the competitors in the space? And I'll toss it to Tomer first, and then we'll either go to the hands or we'll see how the room goes. But yeah, Tomer, I'd like to hear your take on this, man.
Yep. So I'd say that the first thing that Web3 brands can do is basically to be innovative and to be different and to actually solve something in the industry and not being another copycat of a project that was just pumping 3 weeks ago and trying to fork it with a new design and to put some nice pictures of team members in a deck in order to pump. That will definitely differentiate them from the competitive landscape, actually creating a solution. And also, this is one of the biggest diseases that we have, that one thing works, and then, as we say, like mushrooms after the rain, suddenly you see that you have like 60 or 70 projects like this. I see like something succeeds, let's say pump.fun, and then after 2, 3, 4 months, I see decks reaching to my desk for investment, not really to my desk, to my Telegram, getting blurbs, and pitch decks of projects that are basically pump.fun forked, and are trying to raise now with ridiculous valuations because pump.fun worked. Then be innovative and create something different. If you want to differentiate yourself, that would probably be the best answer, like the old school thing. Be unique, do something that is solving something. Don't launch a token because you want to raise money and be rich quickly. Now, I can say it like over and over again, but people will most likely not listen and everybody are going to launch tokens to get rich quickly. But launch a token with utility, with purpose. This needs to be the blood of the application that you created. This is the whole amazing stuff about decentralization, digital asset ownership. Create something with meaning, and trust me, innovate, different, and you will already be differentiating you from this increasingly competitive landscape. Most of the stuff in this industry is competitive because everything is open source. We have smart contracts. We all can see them running online. Everything has a GitHub. It's all community driven, and everything is a fork of a fork of a fork and something with a nice twist to it. So be innovative, create something new, create a great community, invest in it. Make sure that you will stand out from the crowd by offering a unique value to the users and to the industry. And by that, you will differentiate yourself.
An absolute beast of a take, Tomer. Be unique, solve a problem, and create something with purpose. I feel like that should be someone's tattoo. I don't know. That just, it sounds so impactful to me, man. I love it. Nigel, don't mean to, I know it's going to be kind of hard, to kind of go after that, but everyone's going to have to do it at some point, in tonight's show. So maybe you can raise your hand and spare yourself that stress. But Nigel, what are some of the ways that you think a Web3 brand can make themselves distinct amongst others?
To be honest, this is like a very, very hard question, especially for me. Of course, like finding the, unique value proposition is one of the thing, is how we clearly articulate what sets the, the project apart. But actually, like, what are the things that we can do, right, to get the, the unique value proposition? Of course, the first thing is like how you're able to create the competitive landscape within the space. That's one thing for sure. And the second one is basically like the user-centric design, because all of all of these projects, they're kind of like similar. They're just trying to get a piece of the cake, with all the liquidity and the market. But I think like, especially like for our project, for Mycelium and for Mindblown and other IPs that we have, is basically we want to differ from all this main narrative, and that's why we're going with story protocol, because what they're building is basically like, it's very niche and they're trying to solve the real world's problem. It's not only talking about the the Web3 audience or the Web3 market. And then I think it's also like the authentic branding and also like the the storytelling, how we able to develop a compelling narrative. either it's from relatable content or maybe like also like a shareable content. And that's one of our go-to-market strategies. So here we also have the neighbors. So the neighbors is basically one of our go-to-market strategy because it's we're creating a mimetic and internet IP that is specifically can be used by all the people. And I think like one question before that I would like to add is basically like how the engagement of the community. It's also kind of like a double-edged sword basically, because I also think that there's no loyalty in in Web3, because like the utility is the token price, the biggest TVL, or maybe like the higher floor price, right? But I think it's back again that the user engagement, active community involvement leads to better user engagement, which can drive adoption and maybe like the usage of the platform. And often that all of these people advocates and helping to spread the words. And also like I think one of the thing that we also I try to input is communities often foster collaboration among different kind of facet of artists or maybe like investors or maybe like other stuff, right? And they also give a valuable feedback. But I think this is also comes with a caveat, because I already said earlier, right? This is also like a double-edged sword. So I think it's going back to the Pareto principle. It's the 80 rules, right? So we cannot please everyone. So we just need to please the 20% that will actually like generate or maybe like to help our project. And I think like also like the last thing, the most main principle is basically like when we're talking about the utility, it's like the holding value, right? So people will hold if the holding value is bigger than the selling value, and people will sell if the holding value is lesser than the selling value. So I think that's one of the things. There's no magic formula for this. I think like everyone in the space or any kind of this projects still trying to explore a different kind of approach. But I think my take is like being different means that you are interpreted enough to be not following the hertz. And basically that's what we do with Mindblown, with Neighbors, and my Ctrl network that is built on top of Story Protocol.
Love that, bro. Being authentic and produce relatable storytelling. Love that, man. Thank you so much. Let me toss it over to Charles and then Emil real fast for the final maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Charles, real quick, what are some of the ways that you feel like a Web3 brand can make themselves distinct?
Yeah, I think it's really simple and starts kind of at the origin of the project. It's what was said before, like, do you have a strong first principles reason for what you're building, like the problem it solves and for who? And if you do that, like, that's gonna, put you ahead of many and it is a key start. And then the other thing I think is if, you're building in a problem space that's sort of on the frontier of crypto, where it's maybe if you were making a DeFi project today, like on Ethereum mainnet, you'd have to really have something very strong from first principles for anyone to care. If you're building, some kind of like a novel consumer application, or you're building on a chain that, is up and coming, these things can help differentiate you a lot. So I think it's, first and foremost, have a strong first principles reason for the problem you're trying to solve, why you're building what you're doing. And then the second is if you're building in a frontier space where there's not a lot of competition, that's key.
Spot on, Charles. And I love that part where you mentioned so subtle but so powerful. You said for who. And that right there is actually just it's illuminating the fact that we should be building with the community in mind, right? I hardly ever hear speakers actually mention this. So thank you so much for bringing this to the table, Charles. Love that take, man. And Emil, for the final take of tonight, please tell us, what are some of the ways that you think a Web3 brand can make themselves distinct?
I think, look, I mean, the original answer I gave is still relevant here. Making sure that like you are relevant from a meme point of view, making sure that you're authentic and that you don't lie to your users and you don't oversell like what you're building, making sure that like you build in public and in general, I think listening to your community, and I've said that as well. Like obviously some others on this panel said it, and I think this is like very important. Making sure that like you actually reward your users accordingly to the value that they bring to the table. I think it's really important. Listening your users is key in this space, and making yourself available, even if you're busy and you're the CEO or founder, actually like goes a long way. And I try to be as much as possible. Like, and I think on the long run, like it does pay off. People like want to be listened, and people have stuff to say, and I think that like they have valuable stuff to say, and sometimes by listening, like you can make massive improvements to what you're building. So I think that matters a lot.
It absolutely does, Emile. And just got to say, all 4 speakers absolutely coming out with the hottest and most valuable takes I've heard in a long time in Twitter Spaces. But just a quick TLDR for everyone. Be innovative, solve a problem, create something with purpose, and most importantly, build with the community in mind. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this will mark the end of our show for today. So please show some love to all of our amazing panelists for sharing their expertise with us on the subject matter. Please give these guys a follow. They are absolute legends. And thank you, of course, to all the audience members that helped drop a like, comment, and retweet. We really do appreciate each and every single one of you. Now, make sure you guys are following the Forbes Web3 House account and turn on those notifications so you guys don't miss out on any of the latest updates. But until then, this is going to be Ice signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.